Do you want me to go any further?
Yeah.
All righty then. Well, this is for the following set of tapings where we did we did 2 nights of tapings. So how many shows did we do here? 449, 450, and 451. So we did 3 2-hour shows in 2 days. All right, now we're getting to the meat of the matter. So the previous bunch of reports that I have read so far here and the last clip, that was the first set of agent reports I did for the pay-per-view and the 2 days of taping, after they had asked me to do these things to begin with. So now this is the set of agent reports for the last set of TV tapings that I made in TNA. And I know I've told this story. I'm hating because a lot of people are going to say, oh, fuck, I don't want to go back to YouTube and hear the story of it, blah, blah. So I will try to condense it as much as possible. Russo had booked another tournament. Something was going to happen after this tournament. We might get some insight in these notes. I haven't read them word for word. But in the tournament, and at this point, I was being sent the TV formats like 3-4 days beforehand. If we were going to shoot on Monday, I might get them on Friday, whatever the fuck, right? And in this tournament, he was going to have Hernandez end up wrestling Sting, 2 baby faces, Sting an icon, and Hernandez, as we mentioned, the super mech, so we're trying to get over and push as a Mexican superhero. And they're both baby faces, and they end up in this tournament. But, Brian, Sting earlier on TV in another tournament match, Rhino has gored him and broken his ribs. And so now when Sting goes in this match, he's got broken ribs. And this was 2009. This was 15 years ago. So Sting was somewhere where he's 50 years old, let's say. So he got a 50-year-old man with broken ribs going in the ring against a super mech that's 300 fucking pounds and goddamn built like a fucking brick wall. And they're both baby faces. So Hernandez doesn't want to take advantage of the guy's broken ribs, but they were going to have him sneak up from behind Sting and pin him while the heels were trying to interfere. I said, you mean to tell me that not only can the 300-pound super mech superhero that everybody thinks is 20 years younger than Sting, even if he's not, and he's a baby face, and Sting's got broken ribs and he's 50 years old, but the guy still has to sneak up behind him while Sting's attention is distracted to beat him. So you're going to turn our Mexican superhero into a backstabbing fucking prick, and that he couldn't beat the fucking guy up until then that is ready for AARP and should have been taken to the hospital. Am I overstating this, Brian, or do you get the picture here?
I get the picture.
Okay. So when I got that, I'd done something that I didn't do ever before in the 3 years that I'd worked there or afterwards, since I wasn't going to work there very much longer. And I actually got on a phone with our friend Vince Russo to register how that we couldn't fucking do this. And let's do. Oh, and I'm sorry. I left out one important thing. After he snug up and rolled him up from behind, then Eric Young was, because the heels, the other members of the World Elite had done all this distraction bullshit. There's like 4, 5, 6 heels at ringside. But then Eric Young is going to come from the crowd with a baseball bat and lay both Hernandez and Sting out and then cut a promo over.
Huh.
And by the way, at our pay-per-view that was coming up in like fucking 2 weeks or whatever it was, Hernandez was in a big match and Sting was in a big match, and I don't know if Eric Young was on the card. And did I mention again that Eric Young had been the guy that was falling down from his own pyro? Now he's going to lay waste to our top baby faces and stand over them and talk for a while. So I talked to Russo in the car on the way down with Stace driving so I could talk and write. And I said, let's do something different to get to the same place and do a disqualification. And everybody don't want to do a DQ because he's a mark. Also, he had read on the internet, oh, disqualifications are cheap. You know what the alternative would have been? Don't book the fucking match. That would have been an option. But the tournament. So we talked for a while and agreed on a finish where the disqualification would take place somehow, even though nobody cheated because the heels came out and intervened. And it still got Hernandez fucking advanced or whatever, but nobody had to get beat or take advantage of anybody on the babyface side, and nobody got laid out with a baseball bat. So then I get to the taping and I see the format, they put it back. And so in the production meeting, I had to go and litigate this whole thing over again. What the fuck are we doing? They will all end up looking like shit with their dicks in their hands if they try to do this, all this interference and this and that with these multiple people. And you think, and you're making Hernandez look like a prick and an idiot because he can't beat the guy anyway, and a blah, blah, blah. And let's put it back. So they put it back. And there were a lot of people still in the room going, oh, we don't want to do a DQ because this was the newer generation of the indie crowd from the 90s who had also learned, oh, you can't do disqualifications. Don't book the fucking match. So anyway, this is that set of tapings. But we start out with show 449, Rhino versus Sting. Both these guys were no problem whatsoever, very helpful and cooperative setting this up. And I thought their match was good, and the finish was Sting over, and then Rhino's 2 gores to crack his ribs told the story perfectly. Both executed it well. I didn't have Sting use the blood capsule to bleed from the mouth after the gores because of the high rate of those things looking kabuki-ish. And the guys as well agreed if he was bleeding from the mouth from cracked ribs, he might need to go to the hospital. Because that was, again, this is what Russo would just write bullet points on the fucking format. Match. Rhino gore Sting twice, bleeds from mouth. And they were both looked at me like, because Sting was even looking at me like, I'm coming back again to wrestle. And Rhino's like, he didn't want to say it, but he's like, if I gored a motherfucker twice, he's bleeding from the mouth, I think he needs surgery. So we didn't want to goddamn fuck it up at that point. So anyway, keeping it simple, Sting sold the gores well, and it looked more real to the fans. We also asked for AJ not to have to do the save, since it would involve Rhino just leaving the ring with no contact, and AJ had 2 matches later in the show, plus a big run-in in the show closing brawl so the fans wouldn't get tired of him. Rhino left with the heat. Good job by everybody. And again, this is, an hour later after Sting, the icon, has taken these vicious gores. He's got to come back and wrestle this 300-pound beast who's a babyface. And how do you have a match without taking advantage of his broken ribs? What do you do to him? Either that or it looks like Hernandez is, this fucking guy, his ribs out, So anyway. But first, Hernandez has to get there, right? He's got to advance. I'm sorry, did you have any comments on?
No, this is
Sting
fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating. Keep going.
Okay, so Homicide versus Hernandez. Obviously, I had high hopes for this match. Both guys were anxious to get with me and work stuff out. No problems at all. I gave them the framework of a match and had them put their moves to it. I also requested specific things Hernandez do or not do to remain super mechs. Homicide worked hard to shine him, and the first part of the match was good, but it slowed down when Homicide got the heat on Sean's leg. I wanted him to stay all over the leg like a rabid Nelson Royal, and he was methodical like a tiny Don Jardine. This, combined with Hernandez just not being able yet to sell without dying and losing his aura, meant that the match didn't have the passion I'd hoped for. Again, that's what, the big guy bounces the little heel around like a super ball. But then the little heel has to be a pit bull. He has to be aggressive. When he went after the leg, keep chop blocking, tearing, ripping, kicking. Hernandez had to keep trying to stand up, pull himself up on the ropes and get his base taken out, not just lay there in a leg bar, right? And that's that's the fine point that they needed work on. Anyway, the finish was fine. The story got told well. As I said in the meeting, the reason I suggested Homicide finally accept the handshake, but look so bummed about it, was to not telegraph quite so much the following night's turn. Any mistakes these guys made were from inexperience in doing these types of angles and not any lack of effort. I explained to both the next day, especially Sean, in more detail, and they understood. When you get a chance, please email me open dates on Sean in October. Well, the dates of the tapings are August 31st and September 1st. So dates on Sean in October, so I can see about availability of myself in the arena to give him the clinic. And I think they may have booked him to Mexico already at that point in time. He may have had something going on. But anyway, so now these two guys have to wrestle each other, right? Because they won their tournament match. And here we go. Hernandez versus Sting. I know that there was a lot of discussion back and forth on what to do in this match. And to be fair to everyone, there was no way this match at this time could have been a positive thing, no matter how it was done. We just had to get Sting advanced in the tournament. I'm sorry. Sting was going to get advanced. I had it the other way around. Vince and I talked on his original finish because so many finishes happen. Vince and I talked on his original finish, and I thought what we had was a good way to get out of it. But when I got to TV and saw the revised one, with all due respect to anyone who contributed to that one, the reason why I argued so strongly against it was because there was just no way those two guys on that night, under those conditions, with that amount of interference, in that amount of time, could possibly have performed it. We kept the original premise of Sting with cracked ribs facing Hernandez to see who gets a title match. Hernandez didn't want to fight a guy with an injury, but he had to in order to advance. Just a few minutes into the match, Eric Young, disguised as Homicide, came out and attacked Sting in order to show Hernandez he was on his side, but the referee caught him and disqualified Hernandez. After the DQ, security accidentally revealed it was Eric Young who had cost Supermex his title shot. With that being the simple version, I thought the guys did a good job getting out of an awkward situation. Nobody hurt their image. Security and Eric were right there where they needed to be. And everybody performed this well to get the story over, except whoever was the costume person that dressed Eric Young up as Homicide sunk the ship. He didn't even have a cap on that big melon head, and his bare arms with no tattoos were showing, to the point where live Taz couldn't even call him Homicide, as it was obvious. But then there's more. There's more to go on. Anyway, we went to break with the reveal and came back with Hernandez in the ring. He did all right calling Eric Young back out, and we had it set up for World Elite to attack Sean and him to make a comeback on all except Eric Young before they stopped him. I didn't like the way the heels fed him. Doug and Brutus took one bump each and rolled away before Bashir and Kiyoshi were there. Again, they're all over the country, all over the world here, these countries. It left Sean wandering a bit, looking for someone to hit. The heels got okay heat. Then the run-ins and brawl with AJ, Beer Money, 3D, Booker, and Steiner started and was wild and exciting. So again, it's just like it was 18 people. I know. You couldn't. The next day, I got with Hernandez and World Elite and explained to them that they didn't have the luxury of one of them getting the other one over. Both their pushes are new, so they have to get each other over. They have to make Sean look like King Kong and then pick his bones when they get their heat. They understood, and in that day's TV, next report, they were perfect. But anyway, this was just everybody. Again, does this sound familiar? 16 people have to run in. People have to be disguised coming over the rail. And I'm taking a shit that I believe that was the simple version. That was the like, here, can we do it this way so that people will understand it version. Would you like some thoughts on random matches?
Oh, yeah.
Random thoughts on other matches. Sabin versus AJ Styles was very good. Christy Hemi's forte in this business is not wrestling. Doug Williams versus AJ was good. Our biggest problem on this night was from a production standpoint. We had delays in between many of the segments. In one case, we had to hold the truck in the live event to shoot a location promo offline, but in real time backstage. As a result, the audio had bleed over of Pinzer promoting the crowd because there was no communication between the truck and offline crew. Keith and David are working to make sure these segments are done differently from now on, but they still cause a delay for the crowd. I think we should only do them when absolutely necessary. We ended up doing a 2-hour show and half of another in 3 hours, 45 minutes, more than real time with no commercials and not rolling in the pre-tapes. The crowd was tired. We lost a lot because even though individual matches and segments were good, no rhythm was established. Dipshit would stop the goddamn live event while we had it going out in the building in front of the people because one of his backstage promos, it'll have more impact if it's shot live, bro. It needs to be live because they've done some other thing. It's got to be. So he would hold the goddamn live event up to shoot a fucking location promo offline somewhere in the back, but in real time because it would make it fit better that way. Anyway, random thoughts.
Random matches.
Then I've got one more TV taping before I'm done. Would you like to hear that?
Yeah, one more. This is good.
Okay. There was an in-ring interview with the World Elite and Hernandez and Homicide, where Homicide was finally going to turn on Hernandez. Full-fledged, apparently. And I wrote, as we discussed in the meeting, I laid this out to be as big a shock as possible when Homicide turned. We had to first not tip off that Homicide was in on the plan, have Hernandez hit and be Supermax, surprise him with the turn, then get heavy heat on Hernandez and have Homicide welcomed into the family by Eric Young. So again, now, Homicide's from fucking, actually, I think Brooklyn, but he's Puerto Rican, so he's going into the World Elite group with the Japanese guy, the Canadian guy, the British people, the fucking, where else was the other fellows from? Eurasia. So anyway, Eric Young did okay with calling Hernandez out, or else Homicide would suffer. So apparently, they had kidnapped Homicide and they had him down and they said, Hernandez, get out of here. But he didn't exactly rouse up a lot of fear or suspense, old Eric Young. Hernandez hit strong doing the spot I gave him where he chucked Doug and Brutus and Rob and Kiyoshi and Bashir from the ring in seconds, and they all fed him great. Eric was right there with the chair for him to snatch and then bailed. We can't let the baby faces get to Eric Young or his heat will be gone. He's not a guy they want to see beaten up all the time that badly. Homicide was right on target with the stiff chair from behind. Then all the heels got a shot, and it was better, though not yet classic heat. I thought the touch of Homicide burying Sean in the LAX flag was nice heat. We didn't play any music in the truck so we could hear fans mad and yelling, and Homicide played off of it and got some heat and good camera shots. Sahadi was very happy. All these guys did a good job. They listened and were very diligent in all their segments. So now, we were setting up again Hernandez in this battle with these international menaces, including Homicide. Random thought. I've got random thoughts, and then I've got more match, but we'll get to that in a second. Then I guess random thoughts. Devon versus Rude versus Williams versus Steiner. This never got going for me. It was supposed to be a tag team gauntlet match. There was an idea to change it to a four corners match, etc. The match had already started before we came on the air because the teams were about to get into it, and they did a pretty good job with the partners in the ring getting worked on to set up their partner's tag on his entrance. Yeah, this was this. They've got the teams aren't out there. They're like a guy's wrestling and he might be in trouble, but suddenly music plays and his partner comes out. And you could see how this was going. And then I said, James Storm, the last entrant, came out on stage as his partner was in the ring selling. He was wearing a football helmet with two beer cans and slapping two noise sticks together. I got hot and he came to the truck later and I told him why. I said he's better than that, than to have to always be silly or funny or wacky. The fans may like it, but when it's constant or over the top or uncalled for in a situation like that, yeah, your partner's fucking in trouble, but you're going to ride a customized beer cooler to the ring. I told him the fans want a cool beer money, like a Tully and Arn type wrestling heel team with personality, opposite personalities that are, the oddballs, the odd ducks, partners that can wrestle. I believe Storm and especially Rude are main event players in TNA. I'd like to see Storm work on being serious. And he had finally, when they let him do some shit, he had a pretty good run, as I recall, down there. Wonder what is he doing these days? Where is James Storm? You don't hear from him. I mean, I'm not advocating for everybody to wrestle into their fucking 50s. I can't remember how old he is, but this was 15 years ago when he was 30. Had to be.
Where's his old partner? What was it? Chris Harris? Was that it?
Oh my God. America's Most Unwanted. Poor fella. He pooped to bed. Who pooped to bed? Okay, here's a match. Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe with Matt Morgan against AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels with Sting.
Wow.
I don't even remember why all those people are friendly with each other. All six of these guys are always easy to work with, and no exception here. I had a private talk with Joe to pep him up. Stemming from our agent meeting last TVs, I told him he can't lose focus, whether in singles, tags, part of a group, heel or babyface. Just be the badass, explosive Samoa Joe, regardless of the situation, and he'll get over. He certainly worked very hard here and in his singles match with Morgan. And this was when, remember, he'd been kidnapped and thrown in the trunk of a car. We forgot to mention that one last week. They had him a goofy fake tattoo on his face. He was wearing pants. He had been a heel, a baby face. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And he just got, again, a different way than Booker T, who was just, fuck it. He just was, sullen about it and depressed and needed to pick his fire back up. Anyway, this was a real good tag match. They did the finish with Morgan's quote unquote miscue, just as laid out, and both Morgan's facials and his elevator on Angle did wonders for him in the story. And then the following show was show number 451. Bashir and Kiyoshi versus Hernandez. It's that dreaded Middle Eastern Japanese alliance against Mexico. Okay, I explained to the heels that they had to make Hernandez look unbeatable for this angle, and they both did it cheerfully. Even though they had never done a couple of the strongman spots I asked for, I explained them, and they did great. I tried an experiment for Hernandez selling. After manhandling both heels, I had him get rid of Kiyoshi and Bashir stop him. I told Bashir to light him up with chops, punches, and broad arms for 45 seconds and told Sean to sell around the ropes to the right in a circle. Selling but staying on his feet, he does better, but he still forgets to swing back. That's a Rip Rogers drill. Because Rip in wrestling class would say, a lot of guys say, well, I got a TV match, but they only let me get a minute of heat. You can't get any heat in a minute. And he would have guys take a stopwatch and click it, and he would take a guy in the ring and get heat on him for 60 seconds, 1 minute. And in that minute of time, he would take that guy and chop him and broad arm him and rake his back and thumb his eyes and run his head in the turnbuckle and boot him in the gut so many times that in the end of 60 seconds, the guy's chest and his back could be black and blue. Then he said, did I get enough heat? He beat that fucking shit out of that guy in 60 fucking seconds. And I said, but at the same time, the guy sells to the right. Chop, boom, he spins to the right and he grabs the top rope and he's caving, holding his chest in. That's when you fucking broad arm him across the back. Oh my God, he bows his back out with the pain. You boot him in the gut. Oh, he bends over and grabs his gut. You grab his hair and ram his head in the turnbuckle. He's still going to the right around the ring. And you'll do in 60 seconds, you'll waltz that sumbitch around all four sides of the ring and beat him like he owes you trance. And that's what we were trying to get accomplished there. I said, and Hernandez is supposed to be swinging back or pawing back or trying to throw a blow, but the quicker the smaller guy ducks it or stays underneath, whatever. And I said he forgets to swing back. Also, no one will mistake Bashir for Gene Kaniski. I mean, I had to put that in. Anyway, Hernandez made a good comeback and beat him. Then Homicide and Eric Young appeared, and they got good heat on Sean after he just got his hands on Homicide for a second. The driving the spike in the throat with the chair and briefcase looked good, and Sean sold it well. Okay, again, I don't know if I would have come up with that spot, so I have a feeling that's one of the bullet points that was written in the format. Have them take the briefcase and drive a spike into his throat. Sean sold it well. The Alka-Seltzer just blew up into foam from his dry mouth, so it didn't work.
Oh, my God.
And then there was a six-man tag. I wrote nothing. And then the last match, Samoa Joe versus Matt Morgan. These guys worked very hard. It will be smoother when they've had experience with each other. When Kurt came over the desk on Matt, it really kicked it up a notch. Daniels and Joe added a lot with their schmaz, and we went to break hot. On the other side, Kurt and Matt and I had worked out 3 spots, Matt breaking loose and hurling a security guard, Kurt breaking loose and diving over some guards, and then Kurt putting Matt through the table. They did all 3 perfectly, and we got great shots. Keith and David enjoyed it in the truck. The only other thing I'd like to mention is that I think Bashir is underutilized in the World Elite group. Whereas I said Eric is the kind of guy people don't want to see get beaten up all the time. Bashir is. If Bashir speaks more and his promos do get heat, then Eric can still be the leader, but make Bashir his general or whatever. Then Eric doesn't have to carry the whole thing. The group gets more heat. And Eric stays the guy in the suit that no one gets his hands on to put in his place until the blow off. And, again, I see what he's reading these things going, oh, fuck. I'm telling him how to make his shit better because it's all over the page and he's using the wrong people. Or I'm telling them, well, we shouldn't have had this match now. But, we shouldn't have had this match now. They said, be honest, so I'm being honest. And we're trying to work with what we got. But that's the last thing that Mr. Russo wanted to hear was any goddamn coherent criticism with obvious logic thrown in of the goofy shit that he was doing on TV. So next week on the continuing installments, we'll get to the letter that I wrote to Terry Taylor after I got fired.
Oh, we're there already.
We are that. That was my last taping.
Oh.
No. Enough of that. Enough of that. We can't have any more of that shit. Well, it was indeed a hard night's work there at TNA at the Impact Zone, Brian. And, every time I'd get out of there, I just think if I could only just get back to the hotel and lay down in that bed and crank that air conditioning up. But you know what the problem was when I did that, Brian? The hotel did not feature the line of mattresses from our friends over at helixsleep.com. That was the problem. So even though I would have laid down on a bed of rusty razor blades if I had to, and I actually some nights it felt like I was, but that's what would have made the whole experience worthwhile, Brian, is if I could have just dove into a cloud, dove into a box of fluffy ducks, dove into a fucking hummingbird's ass. What other things are soft? How soft is a hummingbird's ass? If I could have only have,
yeah, I've never heard that before.
Well, yeah, right in there. Boom. It's got a relaxable sphincter. If I could have just dove in to any of those things, courtesy of a Helix sleep mattress, that would have been Shangri-La. But you can do it, Brian. You and the people out there, the cult of Cornette. You don't have to go to a hotel and sleep on a bag of rusty razor blades. You, in the privacy of your own home, the privacy, you can order a Helix sleep mattress customized just for you, for your likes and preferences, staying away from your dislikes and your grievances. And you can get it delivered to your home and you can put it on your bed and you can dive into the wings of the angels. Because that's what, if you've got sleep apnea, they will apply themselves toward making that apnea go away. What is the opposite of apnea?
Who's they? What are you talking about?
The people at Helix, they got mattresses. If
they will apply themselves to making your apnea go away. Let's not make that guarantee, because I don't even know what it means.
Well, I'm saying, what is the reverse of apnea? Non-apnea? They'll make you have non-apnea with they got mattresses.
They won't do it.
Well, they won't make you. They'll ask you nicely.
They won't do a thing when it comes to this topic.
Sometimes they'll recommend strongly, because that's what you do. You go to helixsleep.com, Helix sleep, if the people don't know it by now. And you tell the people there, the fine people there, how you like to sleep, on your back, on your side. Are you hot when you sleep? Are you cold when you sleep? Do you wake up screaming and dialing 911 for no apparent reason, otherwise than there were voices in your head and you thought you saw somebody in the room? And then they'll send you a mattress that's designed to correct some of these many issues that I just mentioned.
Don't know if I want to use the term correct, but they have mattresses customized for you.
They will ameliorate. They will ameliorate then the problem. If you sleep and you sweat when you sleep, they got a mattress that makes you feel cooler. Now, certainly that means that they will help the problem. I'm not trying to just go over my head or anything here. Now, if you have, for some reason, a large bowel obstruction, you put that down on the quiz. I don't know if they have anything that'll help it, but make sure you put it down. They'll want to know.
Not one of the inquiries.
Because that way, if you try to use the guarantee.
No.
Well, if you try to use the guarantee and,
well, the guarantee works.
If you've got a bowel instruction, they might need to know if you've had an obstructed bowel on there.
Oh, obstruction.
Yes.
Okay.
Obstruction.
I thought you said
they might need to know if
bowel instruction.
No, everybody knows how to work their bowels. That comes, your kind of wired factory setting for that.
Again, let's get away.
They kind of do their own thing usually.
Let's get away from the bowels. Let's get away from the Bowery. Let's go to the Waldorf of mattresses. And of course, we're talking about a great mattress. You tell them what you like. They will give you the mattress just for you.
Well, they won't give it to you. You got to buy it.
Well, you got to buy them. And we have them here in the house. You have them over there, Jim.
Yes.
Big fans of Helix.
We can save you money. We can save you money on it, too.
That's right. That's a good thing.
Because the big 4th of July sale is going on right now. 27% off. That's the biggest discount we have ever offered on the fine Helix sleep products. I don't even know how they're doing this. They must be laundering some money or something. But now, Helix.
No, they aren't, let alone they must be. They are certainly not. Let's say that.
They certainly launder their mattresses. Now, you can't deny that. They'll send you, it smells clean when it comes in. Helix Sleep. Yeah, I'm trying to say the words. HelixSleep.com/JCE is the 4th of July sale. It's how you get the 27% off site-wide. HelixSleep.com/JCE. Check out the variety of the Luxe collection, the Elite collection, the the very specialized mattresses they have, the little teeny weeny ones for the kids. I mean, if you got the Jimmy legs, just you want the Jimmy legs mattress. Comes with little hooks. You put your ankles in.
No, they do not have any beds with hooks. They don't have a Jimmy legs mattress with hooks.
Well, it's loops instead of hooks. I misspoke. It's loops.
It's not loop. We're going to look back to what we were saying before. Jim, we have a great deal, 27% off. There's never been anything like it. A great time to try Helix Sleep. What's that promo code?
That promo code is JCE. I guess those little loops on the side of the mattress are for when you want to hang it on the ceiling.
No loops. We guarantee no loops, and they will not be adding loops. And again, I don't know, this is the end. I don't know why you go here at the end. But Jim, let's also end with the link that people could use.
HelixSleep.com/JCE, 27% off. Hurry! 4th of July. It's coming. It's going.
Oh, you hear that music playing. You know what that means.
Yes.
There's nothing we can do about it.
There's nothing we can do about that. I've tried many times.